Queridos amigos, queridas amigas.
Dear friends, colleagues, all of those who are here in person and those of you who are following us virtually, welcome on behalf of myself and of Sergei Istanijevs. Sergei is arriving. He's just a little bit delayed because of the public transport, but he will be here as soon as possible and we can get started with our meeting anyway. We've been waiting for the conference on the future of Europe to begin for an awfully long time. And today, finally, we're getting started with the plenary session. We would have loved for everything to be ready, to have the citizens' panels to be ready as well, but we hope that they will be able to be in the September plenary. For the European Union, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to get to every corner of the continent, to speak to every single citizen and to get our international project going again and work on integration that needs to answer the questions and concerns that our society has. It's not a theoretical activity or something just that we want to think about. It's not also trying to find a utopia. We're trying to actually improve the lives of people. And that's why we are in politics, to improve the lives of citizens, step by step, getting to the specific points. And that's why our political family has a lot to offer to this conference from all areas. Without social democrats, the European Union that we currently have wouldn't exist. Solidarity, cohesion, social justice, protection, social protection, all of these are terms that we represent and that represent our vision of Europe. In recent years, it's been very difficult to advance on this agenda because economic interests were of more importance than people. But this has meant that many citizens have a distance has been created between Europe and citizens. The citizens feel that Europe doesn't respond to their concerns and their needs. And the COVID pandemic has now changed everything. It's been a type of shake-up that has affected all of us. And it's brought a lot of suffering, yes, indeed. But it's also made us open our eyes and realize what mistakes we've been making in the past. We're lucky that this conference on the future of Europe that was planned for before has actually coincided with a key point in the recovery from the pandemic. And this is an opportunity that we have to take advantage of. We are once again facing a historic political moment in which people and solidarity are back at the forefront. Measures to get through the crisis are very different from the 2008 crisis. The austerity that punished the weakest, investment. We needed investment to strengthen our public health systems and also to recover strategic sectors that we had abandoned to the market. But there are investments that can't be left just to the market, like the production of medical supplies and vaccinations. Now, the role of our political family is fundamental in this recovery. It has been fundamental to adopt the emergency measures for this year, starting with the sharing out of the debt to finance Next Generation EU. And now we have to use this money to ensure that it's a true investment in the future so that we can see an effect on young people. And that's why we have insisted that a third of the participants in this conference should be young people, because if we're talking about future, our future, they need to tell us what they see as being the future and how we should move forward. This fund has to be an injection for an ecological transition, but not just an ecological transition, but a just transition as well, and that focuses on the entire society. We wanted to include environmental measures for digital transformation, and thanks to the Portuguese presidency and our Commissioner Nicolas Schmidt, we have managed to introduce specific measures into the social pillar. I don't want to go on for too long, but I want to share with you some of the other concerns that take up an awful lot of our time and our energy in the Socialists and Democrats group, and for which we need all of your support. The first has been gender equality, which is something that we have outstanding. COVID-19 has had negative effects across society, but particularly has showed the gender dimension, and we have been defending that in our daily work. The second is the defence of the rule of law and democracy, because in this moment of crisis and disinformation, populism grows, and that's why it's so important that our group has managed to set up a mechanism which brings together the respect of the rule of law and respect of fundamental rights with the access to the European funds. That's something that we've been fighting for many years now, and we've managed to make that a reality. And thirdly, the migratory reform. Because we can't talk about solidarity and a just and fair society if we are not able to give a European response to people that arrive here fleeing from war and crises. And we know that this is all very complicated, and that's why we're here to be able to work together in the upcoming months. I hope that the sessions that we will have in our Progressive Caucus will serve to define our priorities as a political family. This conference has to be seen as an opportunity to talk about everything that we think is necessary and everything that citizens consider necessary. We can't have any vetoes on debates, but we do need to be intelligent on our side as well as a political family to be able to set out certain priorities, to be able to move forward and to have a clear result within the framework of the conference. We have to be able to set out specific objectives, for example, getting rid of the rule of anonymity in the external and security policy so that the European Union can actually act as a global player. That's something that we have outstanding. And if you remember, the High Representative Josep Borrell mentioned that, and that we said that's something that we want to focus on. Also, one of the points, very important points for our identity is to be able to adapt to new challenges. And our political family has to push forward with the European policy to make sure that equality is in line with environment and just transition. It's very important that we have to have a collective effort because social democracy will gain weight and importance with our voters. So that's why we're going to have a group on employment and social issues. I am counting on you all because the effort of everybody altogether is what will allow us to build a better future Europe that will reflect the wishes and desires of our citizens. We have some very passionate, very exciting months ahead of us with shared work, with a bit of possibility to get to know each other, to work together, to manage to move forward with the values that have always united us as a political family and that will unite us in the work that we want to do in this huge challenge that we have. So thank you to all of you. Your presence here today, both the physical presence and the virtual presence, is already a very clear sign of the commitment that there is to work together for the Europe that we want to build together. So thank you very much. And I'm now going to give the floor immediately on behalf of the national parliaments of our political family, to my dear friend and former colleague in the European Parliament, and now Member of Parliament in Portugal, our dear friend Luís Capolo Santos. You have the floor.
Dear comrades, caras e caros colegas.
Dear colleagues, I would like to thank, first of all, your invitation to being here today. It's good to be back in this room where I spent so many happy years of my life, and it's always good to meet old friends. As you know, the Portuguese government has held the rotating presidency over the past 6 months. The Conference of the Future of Europe is not within the consequences of the COSAC, but we were coordinators and facilitators for communication between the national parliaments over the past 6 months. And I have to say, it was a pleasant experience because when dealing with all the different political diversity of the national parliaments, we were able to reach a consensus around the idea that we were trying to achieve, which was to begin the Conference on the Future of Europe. As you know, the Portuguese presidency of the Council managed to unblock this over the past 6 months. And this complicated process of organizing this conference and everything it entails was achieved, and now we can properly begin this conference. Personally, and on behalf of the Portuguese Parliament, we have high expectations of this conference because we are living through a historic moment, which is one of great opportunity. I agree with everything that Irache has said. History has always grown in leaps and bounds when we faced crises. And right now we are in the equivalent of the end of a war. And so we need to reflect on the errors of the past and what we want to achieve in the future. And I think that this interaction of representative democracy, where, in inverted commas, direct democracy, is a very original idea, and I hope that it leads to good results. Now, we have some practical issues to discuss, such as the makeup of the 9 working groups. Each of these groups will have 12 MEPs and 12 national members of parliament, and it'll be important to divide these committees up amongst all these different members of parliament. And it will be slightly complicated because the COSAC Troika will be, quote, leading these committees. But the representatives are not only members of parliament who represent European affairs. Now, I think that the COSAC Troika should remain in place because they have structures in place. And since Portugal will no longer be at its helm, I can say that. Now, some want to create an ad hoc group of leaders, and there is a lot of rallying around that idea. But this will be resolved in the coming days, and I think that then we can begin the key part of this conference, which is not the organizational matters, but to actually start the citizens panels, make sure that ideas circulate among the working groups, and to ensure that the working groups can prepare the topics of the future plenary sessions, which, even though there's only 3 foreseen now, it will be difficult to have more, but I do think that 3 might not be enough. Now, what I would like to stress is that as a representative of the Portuguese Parliament and as a representative for the next 2 weeks of all national parliaments, we will continue trying to have a good dialogue with the European Parliament. Over the past 3 months, we've had a very good relationship with the European Parliament, and we've reached a consensus around the defense of the role that parliaments should have in this conference. Nearly all our goals were met, and so I think that the same spirit that has egged us along over the past 3 months is what will continue accompanying us over the coming year, and I hope to meet you again many times and always with a positive spirit and with all we will achieve. Thank you, Irache, and thank you everybody for your attention.
Obrigada, Luis. Voy a informar.
Thank you. Well, I'll let you know that from now on we're going to start with the further development of our meeting. So first of all, I'd like to start by thanking all of the guests who are here through video conference. You've been here since the very beginning of our work on video conference, and now we're going to continue to go around and give the floor to our colleagues who've asked for the floor. So just to come back to what you were saying, Luis, as regards the working groups. Now, as he said, we haven't yet had them